Dear students, after studying this module, you will be able to learn about food adulteration and food additives, understand the importance of preservation of food adulteration, know the different standards for food adulteration prevention in India, understand the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act and its implications. First, introduction to adulterants and adulteration. An adulterant is a substance found within other substances, example food, beverages, fuels, although not allowed for legal or other reasons. The addition of adulterants, that is the process of lowering the nutritive value of food either by removing a vital component or by adding substances of inferior quality, is called food adulteration. An adulterant is distinct from permitted food additives. There can be a fine line between adulterant and additive. For example, chicory may be added to coffee to reduce the cost. This is adulteration if not declared, but may be stated on the label. The term contamination is usually used for the inclusion of unwanted substances due to accident or negligence rather than intent. Adulterants added to reduce the amount of expensive product in illicit drugs are called cutting agents. Deliberate addition of toxic adulterants to food or other products for human consumption is poisoning. Examples of adulterations: roasted chicory roots used as an adulterant for coffee, diethylene glycol used dangerously by some winemakers in sweet wines, apple jellies, jams as substitutes for more expensive fruit jellies with added colorant and sometimes even specks of wood that simulate raspberry and strawberry seeds, water for diluting milk and alcoholic beverages, cutting agents used to adulterate or cut illicit drugs, for example, shoe polish in hashish, amphetamines in ecstasy, lactose in cocaine, urea, melamine and other non-protein nitrogen sources added to protein products to inflate crude protein content measurements, high fructose corn syrup or cane sugar used to adulterate honey, water or brine injected into chicken, pork or other meats to increase their weight. Next is food additives. Food additives are substances added to food to preserve flavor or enhance its taste and appearance. Some additives have been used for centuries. For example, preserving food by pickling, that is with vinegar, salting, as with bacon, preserving sweets, or using sulfur dioxide, as with wines. With the advent of processed foods in the second half of the 20th century, many more additives have been introduced of both natural and artificial origin. Types of food additives: direct food additives, substance intended for use in food, serve a particular functional effect. Indirect food additives, substances that become a part of food from processing, packaging or food contact surfaces reasonably expected to become a part of food. Next is effects of adulteration on humans. Symptoms like headache, gastrointestinal disorders, muscular pain, drowsiness, etc. appear if adulterated food substances are used regularly. Effects on low nutritional contents are also seen due to prolonged use of adulterants in the food. How dangerous are these adulterants? The effects of adulterants vary. They may be sometimes highly toxic or harmful substances leading to permanent impairments or fatal consequences. Examples: the argemone oil used to adulterate ghee and butter is highly toxic. It causes a disease known as dropsy. Watery fluid collecting in some parts of the body is the main symptom. It affects the normal functioning of the body. It may also paralyze the limbs. Methanol, yellow, is used to brighten the color of pulses, turmeric powder and sweetmeats. Is a coal tar dye. It may cause cancer. Washing soda, often added to powdered sugar and other food items, it may cause intestinal disorders. Food items prepared under unhygienic conditions and stale foods cause food poisoning. Next is the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act of 1954, an act to make provision for prevention of adulteration of the food. It was enacted by Parliament in the 5th year of the Republic of India. It is read as follows. First, short title, extent and commencement. This act may be called the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act 1954. It extends to the whole of India. It shall come into force on such date as the central government may, by notification in the official gazette, appoint. Second, definitions. In this act, unless the context otherwise requires, first is adulterant. Adulterant means any material which is or could be employed for the purpose of adulteration. Second is adulterated. An article of food shall be deemed to be adulterated if A. If the article sold by a vendor is not of the nature, substance or quality demanded by the purchaser and is to his prejudice, or is not of the nature, substance or quality which it purports or presented to be. B. If the article contains any other substance which affects, or if the article is so processed as to affect injuriously the nature, substance or quality thereof. C. If any inferior or cheaper substance has been substituted wholly or in part for the article so as to affect injuriously the nature, substance or quality thereof. D. If any constituent of the article has been wholly or in part abstracted so as to affect injuriously the nature, substance or quality thereof. E. If the article had been prepared, packed or kept under insanitary conditions whereby it has become contaminated or injurious to health. F. If the article consists wholly or in part of any filthy, putrid, rotten, decomposed or diseased animal or vegetable substance, or is insect infested, or is otherwise unfit for human consumption. G. If the article is obtained from a diseased animal. H. If the article contains any poisonous or other ingredient which renders it injurious to health. I. If the container of the article is composed, whether wholly or in part, of any poisonous or deleterious substance which renders its contents injurious to health. J. If any coloring matter other than that prescribed in respect thereof is present in the article, or if the amounts of the prescribed coloring matter which is present in the article are not within the prescribed limits of variability. K. If the article contains many prohibited preservative or permitted preservative in excess of the prescribed limits. L. If the quality or purity of the article falls below the prescribed standard, or its constituents are present in quantities not within the prescribed limits of variability, but which renders it injurious to health. M. If the quality or purity of the article falls below the prescribed standard, or its constituents are present in quantities not within the prescribed limits of variability, but which does not render it injurious to health, provided that where the quality or purity of the article, being primary fruit, has fallen below the prescribed standards, or its constituents are present in quantities not within the prescribed limits of variability, in either case solely due to natural causes and beyond the control of human agency, then such article shall not be deemed to be adulterated within the meaning of this subclause. where two or more articles of primary food are mixed together and the resultant article of food A is stored, sold or distributed under a name which denotes the ingredients thereof, B, is not injurious to health, then such resultant article shall not be deemed to be adulterated within the meaning of this clause. Next is regulatory requirements in India. To safeguard health and safety, Government of India promulgates regulatory requirements for manufacture and sale of goods and services, including those which are imported. Regulations are stipulated through various acts, rules and regulations by different ministries under Government of India. Enactment of acts, rules and regulations is done taking cognizance of the relevant World Trade Organization agreements. Regulatory requirements, key considerations. Regulatory measures should be minimum. They should have minimum compliance costs. Regulatory measures should benefit society. These measures should comply with the laws of the country. Regulations should be made and enforced in a transparent manner. Regulations should be fair and treat all equally before the law. Regulations should be drafted in clear and simple language for understanding of all citizens. Regulatory measures should be flexible for amendments, revision if required due to changed circumstances. Foreign trade, quality regulations in India for imports. There is Directorate General of Foreign Trade, relevant regulatory agencies, Bureau of Indian Standards, and for exports there is Export Inspection Council. Next is BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standards. The Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, is the national standards body of India, working under the guidance of Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. It is established by the Bureau of Indian Standards Act 1986, which came into effect on 23rd December 1986. The minister in charge of the ministry or department having administrative control of the BIS is the ex officio president of the BIS. The organization was formerly the Indian Standards Institution, that is ISI, set up under the resolution of the then Department of Industries and Supplies, dated 3rd September 1946. The ISI was registered under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. As a corporate body, it has 25 members drawn from central or state governments, industry, scientific and research institutions, and consumer organizations. Its headquarters are in New Delhi, with regional offices in Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai, Chandigarh and Delhi, and 20 more branches are there. It also works as World Trade Organization Technical Barriers to Trade, that is WTO TBT inquiry point for India. Its aim is harmonious development of standardization and quality control in national and international arena, as well as certification schemes for products and systems, and the progressive growth and development of Indian industry, commerce and exports, keeping in mind consumer protection. Next is standards formulations. Standards formulation, there are the basic steps for this. International standards, the relevant parts are used in standard setting. However, in case of fundamental or technical, geographical or climatic problems, standards are set as per the national requirements. As national standards bodies, Bureau of Indian Standards takes full part in the development of international standards relevant to the national needs. Next is certification activities of Bureau of Indian Standards. Bureau of Indian Standards was enacted in 1986 as a method for regulating standards. Under this, it offers third-party assurance based on well-defined scheme of testing and inspection, ensuring adequacy of in-process quality control. Certification scheme. Based on Type 5 of International Organization for Standardization, that is ISO, Guide 28, which includes type testing and assessment of factory quality control and its acceptance, followed by surveillance that takes into account audit of factory quality control and testing of samples both from factory and open market. Certification scheme for foreign manufacturers. Scheme for foreign manufacturers. 93 licenses granted in 16 countries such as France, UAE, South Korea, Nepal, Switzerland, Thailand, Bhutan, China, etc. Products certified include packaged drinking water, cement, wood products, steel products, milk products, clinical thermometers, energy meters, electrical appliances and switchgear items, etc. Next is notification practices. Criteria for notification include assessment of whether or not the international standard exists or technical content differs from international standards, the impact of regulation on trade and whether regulation deals with technical requirements or sanitary and phytosanitary SPS measures for a product or group of products is relevant. That is, whether it is relevant under the TBT and the SPS agreements. Notification procedures. First is the preparation, initiated by regulator of proposed legislations, complete notification format by the regulatory body in consultation with Ministry of Commerce, clear and descriptive outline of the regulatory proposal, give adequate time to comment on the proposal, reasonable time for adoption of measures. Adulterants added to reduce the amount of expensive product in illicit drugs are called cutting agents. Deliberate addition of toxic adulterants to food or other products for human consumption is poisoning. Food additives are substances added to food to preserve flavor or enhance its taste and appearance. Symptoms like headache, gastrointestinal disorders, muscular pain, drowsiness, etc. appear if adulterated food substances are used regularly. An act to make provision for prevention of adulteration of the food, it was enacted by the Parliament in the 5th year of the Republic of India. This act may be called the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act of 1954. To safeguard health and safety, Government of India promulgates regulatory requirements for manufacture and sale of goods and services, including those which are imported. The Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS, main aim is harmonious development of standardization and quality control in national and international arena. BIS offers third-party assurance based on well-defined scheme of testing and inspection ensuring adequacy of in-process quality control.